Olympiad in 2012 are awarded to the city of London.
I'm pretty excited about the Olympics.
Really excited.
A moment in history which will never be repeated.
There's nowhere else in the world that could do it justice.
The whole of Great Britain will celebrate.
I'm not sure that people who are angry about the Olympics would be very patriotic. And for me, the Olympics is not about politics.
The mayor is trying to introduce us as being anti-Olympics, but really all we're trying to do is save our community.
We weren't included. It's almost like we're the forgotten people.
It's going to be completely deranged and crazy for a period of time.
It's important because it's the one event that unites the world.
Hang on a minute, who's paying for this? I don't think our generation's really fussed about the Olympics.
I'm really excited for the Olympics to be in London.
It's just Olympics. It's nothing that special.
My name is Edwin Dennis Clayton. I'm 83 years old, and I think since 1960 I've seen 13 Olympic Games. My first Games was in 1960, and what gave me the great passion to go again was the end of the Olympic Games. At the closing ceremony in Rome, there was a big sign and a big announcement and said arrivederci, and we would meet again in Tokyo in 4 years' time. And that brought tears to my eyes, and I said, yes, I shall be there. The Games came first always, because I wanted to see the one more and the one more and the one more. But now, as I can't get tickets this time, I can't actually see it. 8 years ago, we knew that the Games were going to be in London. And I thought, well, in 8 years' time, I could well be in a wheelchair. And so I thought, well, even in a wheelchair, I could still get to the London Games. So that is a big disappointment. Although I'm never depressed and I'm never downhearted, it just appears to have knocked off the enthusiasm.
We're standing now not really more than a couple of 100 yards from the main Olympic site, and yet you're already dropping into another world. A strange mix of decaying industrial grunge with elements of the country, with the wilderness, the real wilderness that was untouched. This was a zone that was dangerous and dirty. It was where there were 2 landfill dumps. There was a factory making luminous watch dials. There was a small nuclear reactor that belonged to Queen Mary College. The tarmac that we're standing on now is actually been rebranded as the Olympic Green Way. And in reality, what it is Joseph Bazalgette's sewage outfall. So it was a thing that was functional. It was carrying the sewage out of London and therefore helping to alleviate cholera and all the diseases that were making London intolerable with stinks and smells, and creating something viable and useful. And that has been cosmetically doctored with tarmac that's turned it into an airport runway or a motorway. And so in a sense you have the entire panorama of cultural and social history visible and available as a post-industrial theme park.
One of the things we discovered at Games Monitor was that radioactive waste had been buried in the cesspit of a house that had previously stood on our site. We were living on the estate. These clowns, the Olympic Delivery Authority, the LDA, came onto the landfill site and started excavating, taking no precautions for the existence of radioactive waste. They were excavating for months before finally, we don't know why, they called in radiation protection advisors. The first day they were on site, they started finding stuff. They had to trace back where it had been excavated from, and they actually traced it back to the bowl of the main stadium. I mean, I'm not claiming this site is, so hot that you're going to get your testicles fried or something on it, but, there is a problem.
The interesting thing about the Lower Lee Valley was that It was a borderline. It was an area for people who lived in the density of East London to come into and escape and explore. All of it was lost. All of it was not supported. All of it drained away in the promise of creating this brave new world, which is actually an extension of an enormous Australian shopping mall. Instead of a park for the people, we've actually created a toxic wilderness.
I have every confidence that when people come to London in 2012, they are going to find a city that is very different. It is a city that is changing and changing the whole time. Virtually every single one of our international sports were either invented or codified by the British. And they were. Ping-pong was invented on the dining tables of England, ladies and gentlemen, in the 19th century. It was, and it was called wiff-waff.
Hello, I'm Boris Johnson. Come on through to our wiff-waff party. Here we are in central London for the big wiff-waff pre-Olympics wiff-waff tournament.
I think it's nice to have it on our home turf. It's great to get everyone here, but I think that everything is going to collapse. The infrastructure, the transport. I think it's going to be an utter nightmare. But I am going to the wiff-waff event, so I'll have to stick it out.
I think humour, I hope, and a really, really shit opening ceremony. That's my expectation.
I think people that may disagree with his policies or principles still, I think, like him for his sort of hearty guffaw and his charisma and his colour, his wayward hair, his ridiculous cycling. And the fact he's a little bit different, you know.
Our Olympics will give that East End of London the huge regenerative boost that it needs.
The kind of troublemaking I've been involved in with regards to the Olympic Games has been getting the truth out and has been trying to bust the myths that LOCOG, the London Organising Committee of the Olympic Games, and the ODA, the Olympic Development Authority, have been trying to put out one of the biggest myths that LOCOG has been trying to sell about the Olympic Games is that it's going to bring regeneration to London and to the rest of Britain. Regeneration is when pre-existing community remains in an area and you bring in more schools, you bring in better hospitals, you bring in better public services, and you generally make life smiley. It's not as what's happening in the London Borough of Newham and lots of parts of Hackney and parts of East London, which are most affected and directly affected by the Games, where people are being taken from their neighbourhood and then being told to leave that community so that you can then build new condominiums, build a smacking new shopping centre, and bring in a completely different economic class to up the area a bit. What happens to all those families? They get sent as far as places like Stoke, or they get sent to Essex, or they get sent elsewhere, but that just basically means that they are no longer Newham's problem, and they are no longer the problem or the issue.
We're very close to the Olympics. We've been pretty much on the building site when it was being constructed. Some people have been complaining of, dust-related illnesses and stuff like that. Of course, the council ignored that.
We've put up with all the noise, all the dirt, all the grime, and nobody has ever said to us, hey, you can have subsidised tickets, or it would be nice for you to come and visit, seeing it's right on your doorstep. Absolutely nothing, no mention of us. It's almost like we just don't exist. And it's sad, really, because it's right on your doorstep and you should be able to enjoy it and be part of it, but we're not.
We're up in Denison Point, I think it's floor 17 or 18, and the council have leased the top 5 floors to the BBC. Initially they said that the blocks had asbestos in, so they're not fit for purpose, it's unsafe, but it's safe enough to build media suites. The community's been dispersed, and this is why they did it. They wanted the BBC, wanted to have these lovely views, and sing praise to the Olympics, which is probably not a bad thing, except when you have to factor in that just down here you see all these houses and all these people are going to be kicked out of their homes. Many of them have lived there for 40 plus years. This community is nearly half a century old. Lately, gentrification, especially when it comes to regeneration, is about wholesale land grab, about moving communities away from where their homes and where they're used to, and effectively just dismantling. It's like social cleansing. I think what the Olympics does is it speeds the process up. I think it was already happening, but the Olympics has given it an extra boost, and it's helped it to kind of like move a lot quicker.
Because it's like now, because of the Olympics, we're regenerating, we're doing up East London, it's been a very poor borough and so forth, and they're throwing money into it as if to say, oh, look what we're doing for you. No, they're not doing it for us, the people like me. It's not for us, because they don't want us here.